Are you a digital nomad who's been thinking about moving to Portugal using the D8 Digital Nomad Visa?
Well, if you've been paying attention to the news lately, then you've probably noticed all the drama surrounding the new Portuguese immigration law proposals, mainly surrounding the increase from 5 to 10 years to citizenship.
We've been following the news and tracking sentiment online around various communities, and we've noticed people keep asking, should I still move to Portugal using the D8 Digital Nomad Visa? What has changed? What are the requirements? Should I apply now?
So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about all the things you need to know about the D8 Digital Nomad Visa here in Portugal, the requirements, the documents you need, and if you even still should apply.
Stick around to the end and we'll give you the update on the current status of these new immigration law proposals and how it can impact the D8. Let's go.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Nations Without Borders. My name is Josine.
And I'm Eric, and together with our daughter Nora, we are the Nation family. We lived the digital nomad lifestyle for 7 years, and we eventually chose our home base here in Lisbon, Portugal when we moved here 3 years ago.
So on this channel, we publish weekly episodes every Sunday about our life here in Portugal, about traveling with kids and remote work.
Yeah, and if this kind of content resonates with you, please like and subscribe. We would definitely appreciate it.
Now, when we moved here, Eric could have chosen to go the digital nomad route. He could have chosen the D8 visa. But I'm from the Netherlands, which is an EU member, and Portugal as well, so I could be a legal resident here. So for his visa, we chose to go to the family reunification, EU law, Article 15, so he could also live in Portugal.
Yeah, that option just made a little bit more sense for us, and the application process was a little easier. But because much of our audience are digital nomads and traveling families, we wanted to dive into the details of the D8 Digital Nomad Visa on this video because it is one of the most popular pathways to gain residency in Portugal. And we'll also update you on the new immigration law proposals and how that could impact your situation if you decide to move to Portugal using the D8 visa.
Let's dig in.
All right, so what actually is the Digital Nomad Visa?
The Digital Nomad Visa here in Portugal is designed for people who can work remotely. The digital nomads, obviously. So that is for people who can work remotely with their laptop and earn an income from outside of Portugal.
Yeah, and the D8 visa is designed for two different kinds of profiles. Number one, you have remote workers. These are people who are an employee of another company or independent contractor through a company outside of Portugal. And then the second profile is for freelancers and entrepreneurs. So these are people who run their own business or have their own LLC, whatever the case may be, and they are also earning their income from outside of Portugal.
Yeah, the application process for both groups is identical. It's just a small difference, which we'll discuss later in this video. Let's talk about the requirements for the D8 visa first.
All right, so the first main financial requirement is that you must earn at least 4 times the local Portuguese minimum wage, and as of 2025, that is approximately 870 euros. That comes out to 3,480 a month, and that's net, so after taxes. And if you do the math on that for a year, 41,760 a year. However, you only need to show proof of this for the past 3 months. So before you apply, make sure you hustle and earn that extra income.
A second requirement is that you can prove you can work remotely for the foreseeable future.
Thirdly, another requirement is that your passport must be valid for 6 months after your 120-day visa period. Because you see, after your application gets approved at your local consulate in your own country, this doesn't automatically give you the 2-year residence permit. This gives you a 120-day national visa, which has 2 purposes. It allows you to enter Portugal under this visa, and this gives you time to set an appointment with the immigration agency in Portugal called EMA, and that's when you go to your application to then apply to get your residency card.
Other requirements for your D8 visa are: you need to have a NIF number, which is your tax number. You need to have a NIS number, that is your social security number. You need to open a Portuguese bank account. You need to have an address here somewhere in Portugal for the coming 12 months. And you need to have a private health insurance.
All right, so it's not like a super long list of requirements, but that doesn't mean the application process is exactly easy, because there is an extensive list of documents that you will need to submit with your application. So let's go over the required documents that you will need for your application. All right, so it's a long list, so I don't have it memorized. I'm gonna read off the list. Here we go. The application form for a national visa. We're gonna put a link in the description, so make sure you check that. A passport that is valid for 6 months after your 120-day visa that is issued in the last 10 years and contains at least 2 blank pages. Typical, you're gonna need at least 2 recent passport photos. You're gonna need a notarized color copy of your main passport page. They are picky. If you're not a citizen where you are applying from, you'll need proof of legal residency. So, for example, if you're an American resident and you're applying for this visa while living in Bali, you'll need to prove that you have legal residency in Indonesia, in Bali. And if you don't have that, you would need to go back to the country of residency, aka in this situation, the US, and apply from there. You'll also need a personal statement declaring the reasons you are seeking residency and outlining your qualifications. So, answering questions like, why do you want to live in Portugal? What is your work situation? Your financial stability, your intent to comply with Portuguese laws. You'll need your most recent tax returns, personal and or business if you own a business. You'll need your NIF and proof of your Portuguese bank account, a criminal record certificate. You're also going to need private health coverage, at least at first. Once you move to Portugal and you're there a few months after that, you can switch to Portuguese insurance. You're also going to need proof of accommodation in Portugal for the coming 12 months. From our research online, this is a little bit of a gray area. Depending on the consulate that you're applying at and how chill and casual they are, you might be able to get away with 6 months or even 3 months, but you do need proof of that. And there are third-party services that help expats apply for this, so you can get something that, like, if you don't have the ability to go to the country and get boots on the grounds to search for your accommodation, there are third-party vendors that will help you find something, locate it for you, and book it for you, and also provide you with a certificate to prove that you have the accommodation. And we'll put a list and links to those vendors in the description, so make sure you check that out.
And remember how we told you about like tiny differences between the 2 profiles, the employees and the self-employed? The following 3 documents are needed and different between these 2 profiles. So that is proof of remote employment. Employees need proof of employment, whether that be a contract or a letter that states their position, responsibilities, that the company is outside of Portugal, that they are allowed to work remotely, and that their contract is valid for the foreseeable future. Self-employed people, like freelancers, would need to show contracts that they have with clients that show the scope of work, that the client is based outside of Portugal, and the terms and ongoing nature of the work. Then there is proof of salary. If you're a full-time employee, this is usually pay stubs, salary slips, and bank account statements. If you're self-employed, it's typically invoices and bank account statements. And then there is an extra document if you're self-employed, and that is your business documents proving that you own the business, so your business registry and a tax return of last year, for example.
They'll basically just ask you to write a declaration stating that you own the company, and you get to write that document.
And sign it yourself.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for the documents.
All right, now that we have covered who this visa is for, the requirements, and the documents needed, let's cover the application process. For this process, you can generally fall into 2 categories, the DIY or if you need help doing it. And so if you're the type of person who's on a budget and you would rather save money on legal fees and you would rather do it yourself, this is quite possible. You just have to be good at following instructions, basically. And there are plenty of resources out there to help you with this, whether it's watching this video or looking up other YouTube videos, or there's actually a really helpful and valuable Facebook group if you're from the United States. It's called Americans and Friends in PT. We'll put a link in the description below, but in this group, the administrators do a fantastic job of running the group and including free resources and PDFs that outline it step by step exactly what you have to do, along with links and everything like that. And in this group, people are posting all about their experiences as they go through the application process and giving each other useful tips and tricks. So it's a very active community. People are posting on there multiple times a day. And if you are the DIY type of person, I highly recommend enrolling in this group or joining. They'll be able to get you going.
Yeah, but if you don't have time, or you're just not sure what you're doing, or you're not an American and in that group, we can recommend immigration lawyers to help you out. They know the process, they know what they're doing, and they can make it as stress-free as possible. We are sharing some recommendations for immigration lawyers in the description of this video.
Yeah, so let's say you're just a super busy person with work and you got family or whatever and you just need help. Immigration lawyer is a good way to go because they'll just hold your hand the whole way. All right, so if you schedule a consultation with one of the lawyers that we recommend, just tell them NWB sent you. So now let's go over the 9-step application process. We're gonna kind of go over the rough steps that you'll do. Step number 1 is collect all your documents that we talked about in the previous section. This means acquiring your NIF, proof of accommodation, criminal record, private health insurance, all those things. Go through that process first, and that's gonna, obviously it's gonna take a while for you to find an apartment, apply for the NIF and get that. So make sure you start that process early. That way you can collect all the necessary documents and proof of whatever you need to do to schedule your appointment with your local consulate, which brings us to step number 2. Go to the application form. While you are collecting all your documents, you can jump to step number 2, which is going to the website to fill out the application form for your visa. And in order to do that, you're going to go to the Vistos National Visas website. That's the Portuguese Ministry of Foreign Affairs website. Once you're on that website, we're going to put the URL right here in the video and in the description. But once you're on the website, it's a little bit hard to navigate. So you go to National Visas, then Forms, then Templates tab, and then Long-Term Visas, and you'll see a National Visa application form. Just click on that. We'll also put a link in the description and apply there. Next, after that, you can schedule your appointment with your local Portuguese consulate. So just go on the internet and search for Portuguese consulate in my region, and that'll come up there. Once you find the one closest to where you're located, go on there and schedule your appointment. Step number 4 is attend that appointment. And then step number 5 is wait for your visa decision. So after you attend your appointment and submit all your documents, there'll be a waiting period. This can be a couple weeks, or it can be up to a couple months or even longer. It just depends on that consulate and how busy they are. Step number 6 is hopefully getting approved. And once you're approved, you have a 120-day window to travel to Portugal, enter, and then book your residency permit application at AMA. This is the part where you get your residency card. Also, step number 7 is booking your AMA appointment. Depending on the consulate that you go to, especially if you're in the US, they will book that AMA appointment for you. It'll even show the AMA appointment date on the little visa sticker they put in your passport. But if that doesn't happen, depending on which country you're in, and if you have to book the AMA appointment yourself, there is an actual online portal on the AMA website where you can do that. We'll put a link in the description for that. If that doesn't work for you, you can also call them. Just be warned that it is hard to get through. You have to call at like 8 or 9 in the morning, or 5 and 6 right before they close to get through, and that can be a pain in the butt. So hopefully the online portal will be working for you. If the consulate doesn't schedule this appointment for you, I hope they do, because trying to schedule the appointment on your own can be a pain. After you get your appointment with AMA, then it's just a waiting game. You have to wait for your appointment. And then when you finally do go to your appointment, hopefully you can bring a translator through you, because when I went to my AMA appointment, the representative that helped me did not speak English. So it does help if you can bring someone that speaks Portuguese, or else you might be fumbling a little bit and might make the process more difficult. But yeah, then you attend your AMA appointment and hopefully everything goes well and you get approved. And now you just wait for your D8 Visa card to arrive in the mail. This can happen in a couple weeks, or it can take 4 or 5 months. It just depends on how busy they are and the AMA office that you go to. So there you have it. There's the 9 steps you can expect to go through when going through the application process. All right, so let's talk about how much it costs to apply for the D8 visa. Now we're just talking about like the fees you would pay at the consulate, and then in Portugal once you go to AMA. This all depends on the consulate you go to, obviously, but it can range anywhere between 75 and 120 euros, depending on the consulate. And then once you get your resident permit, once you're in Portugal and you go to AMA, that's going to be around 170, 180 euros, but that can change, you know, so just make sure you check that on the AMA website. There's a bunch of other costs too, because you have to apply for your NIF. When you get proof of accommodation, you're going to have to pay for that. So usually there's last and first month's rent plus the security deposit for the apartment that you rent. So there's several $1,000s right there, or even depending on how nice of an apartment you get. There's the fee you need to pay to get your criminal record. So definitely, once it's all said and done, not cheap, because you're gonna have to go and get these required documents.
Yeah, and then we're not even talking about an immigration lawyer.
Yeah, if you decide to get an immigration lawyer to assist you, then you have legal fees as well. So yeah, not exactly cheap, but hopefully you can keep it under, depending on the apartment you get, 4,000, 5,000 euros with everything combined. Oh yeah, but then you actually also have the flights.
Yeah, and health insurance, but it's more about the process itself. Like, sure, you need to pay for accommodation, but with or without a visa, if you're coming to Portugal, you gotta pay for accommodation. So I would say that the process, the cost of getting this, the D8 visa, I would say focus on the application fee there and here, and some extra costs like notarizing documents and getting your criminal records.
Let's just say between 5 and 10K, depending on where you're flying from, how many family members you got coming with you, how much furniture you have to buy, or if your apartment's refurbished already.
It's gonna cost money.
Next, let's talk about the timeline of this whole process from start to finish. Now, when you're in your home country and you're applying at the consulate, once you submit your visa application, it could take anywhere from a few weeks to a couple months to get an answer on whether your visa has been approved or denied. And then from that point on, you have 120 days to get into Portugal and schedule your AMA appointment. Hopefully the consulate will schedule that AMA appointment for you. That way you have a predetermined date once you get to Portugal. But if you have to schedule it yourself, then it's not uncommon that people will be in Portugal and their visa will have expired until they actually get their AMA appointment to get their residency card. And that's just part of it. And when you get your visa, it usually allows you 2 entries. So one for the first entry coming from your country, and then another entry if you want to take a small vacation, like go to Spain or something and back. But other than that, it is possible that it would take longer than the 120 days. So just be prepared for that and make sure you remain patient because there is lots of bureaucracy in Portugal.
All right, now let's talk about family. Can you bring your family members with you on a D8 visa? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it might change. As mentioned earlier, there's a new law proposed for the immigration laws here in Portugal, and family reunification is a big part of that.
Take this with a grain of salt because we're going to tell you what it is now, but that might change in the future at the end of this year when these laws get solidified. But we'll tell you what it is now.
So for now, you can bring your spouse, you can bring your minor children, and you can bring your adult children or your parents if they are financially relying on you. It does require a few more documents at your application or later on, because there's 2 routes here. The first route is that they apply together with you from the start in your home country. The other route is that you apply for the D8 visa and you get that, you go to Portugal, you get your D8, you're already here, and then you apply for your family members.
And they would be applying for the D6, which is the family reunification visa, but that's the details.
It's a different thing. The documents, the extra documents that you need for both these routes would be a marriage certificate if you're married, apostille, that is, birth certificates for the kids. You would need proof of income that supports the dependents. So for yourself, it's like what we said already, like the minimum wage in Portugal times 4. For any adult that you're bringing, so your spouse or adult children or your parents, you need to bring 50% of that. For children, minor children, that's 30%. So for example, for 2025, with a minimum wage 870 a month, for a spouse, it would be 435 euros extra, and for a child, it would be 261 euros extra.
And then each dependent would obviously need their own private health insurance. You have to provide proof of that, criminal record for each adult, and the accommodation that you get, it has to be big enough to fit everyone.
Yep.
All right, another question that's often asked with D8 applicants is, can they get citizenship? And the answer is yes. As of right now, you would be able to get citizenship after 5 years, but like we said with the new immigration law proposals, that is likely changing to 10 years, unfortunately, but it hasn't been solidified yet, and there is hope. And the prediction is that current applicants and people that are residents already here will be grandfathered into the current 5-year rule. Hopefully that's gonna happen. So if you are on the fence about whether you should try and come to Portugal or not, we would recommend you apply as soon as possible. That way you can get your application approved, and hopefully it gets approved in time before these new laws get solidified. That way you can be grandfathered in to the 5-year rule. Another question people ask is, through the Digital Nomad Visa, can I eventually get citizenship in Portugal? And the short answer is yes. As of the current with previous rules, it would be 5 years. Your D8 visa is initially good for 2 years, and then you can renew it for another 3 years. And after that 5-year period, you can get permanent residence or apply for citizenship, but that is likely about to change with the new immigration law proposals.
Yeah, so what is up with these law proposals, you might think? Well, if you have not been following the news, I recommend watching our last video, because that's all about these new proposals, what influence it has on the people already here, and what it could mean for you when you're going to apply.
So the TLDR is that Portugal has a bit of an immigration crisis going on, and it's been escalating over the past years, 5 to 10 years or so. And basically, Portugal's immigration system is just a bit broken. Their immigration agency, AMA, is backlogged with over 400,000 pending applications, and just their workflows and processes are outdated. They don't have enough employees and workers to handle the influx of the pending applications. Although they are digitizing and improving efficiency in some areas, such as application renewals. They've just recently opened up some online portals for that, so that's great. So they are working on the backlog to reduce the pressure and hopefully relieve some of these bottlenecks, but it is still overall just a broken system, and that's just one of the reasons.
Yeah, and because of this, the government is now imposing stricter rules. This proposal that we're talking about is much stricter, and especially around the citizenship part, the path to citizenship. Right now it's 5, and they're proposing 10 years, and the international community is not happy.
Yeah, and there is a bunch of other new rules too, tightening around this, but make sure you go watch our other video because we cover all those in detail.
So, what's the latest on the status of this proposal? Is it a done deal?
No, definitely not yet. The Prime Minister's top cabinet, called the Council of Ministers, while they have agreed on these new proposals, before anything goes into real law, it still has to go through Parliament.
And here's why that's important. The current ruling party, the AD coalition, doesn't have enough votes to easily put laws into effect. They're gonna need help from either the left or the right side, other parties that will vote with them. The AD coalition is the largest party, but they don't have the majority. There's a big chance that during the discussions of this proposal, it's going to be watered down, and they're going to have changes, amendments made. We're going to have a discussion, and therefore we think it's not solidified yet.
Exactly like we were talking about in our last video, and what our attorneys and other professionals are predicting. And a big point of concern is that the government has stated that these changes could apply retroactively all the way back to June 19th, meaning that for any applications that were submitted before then, the rules would be applied before they even come in to law. And this is a tactic to slow down new applications, which we have already seen a surge of new incoming ones since the announcement of these proposals.
We also saw a preview of the political battles of last week, where the far-right party, Chega, was pushing for even stricter immigration rules. Meanwhile, the parties on the left side were criticizing the parliament for being unfair, and that the wealthy golden visa investors were being protected and the other immigrants were facing stricter rules.
Beyond politicians, civil society groups, especially employers who rely on foreign workers, are also concerned. They were not consulted when these proposals were made, and they worried that it's going to hurt key parts of the Portuguese economy, such as tourism, farming, and construction, because these areas obviously depend a lot on these immigrants.
And importantly, that petition that we asked you to sign last week in our previous video, it has now over 7,500 signatures, which is needed for it to be formally discussed in Parliament. This means that the concerns from the foreign residents will be heard.
And this is great news, because that means we're just one step closer to ensuring current residents and applicants will hopefully still qualify for the 5-year conditions of citizenship. Which leads us to our next question. Should you even still apply if you were planning to come to Portugal?
Yeah, so we're seeing digital nomads asking online, should I even still come to Portugal if this is the case? It is a fair question, but it really depends on your personal situation and your goals.
Yeah, I was actually just going through the comments on our last YouTube video, and there were multiple people that were preparing to leave the United States who were gonna apply for the D8, and their sentiment was I don't think I'm gonna go there anymore. There's too much instability in Portugal, you can't rely on them, and this just puts a huge damper in our plans. Yeah, so if one of your primary goals is to obtain EU citizenship within that 5-year timeline, and Portugal is at the top of your list, and you have the capability to apply today, then yes, I would say still apply ASAP. That way, hopefully, you will be able to be grandfathered into the 5-year rules.
And as said before, these are just proposals so far. Nothing is finalized yet. So apply today, get your documents together. If you need help, reach out to the immigration attorneys that we link to in the description of this video and book a consultation. It will just expedite the process.
But if you want to do this yourself and save money on legal fees, then join the American and Friends PT Facebook group. Start reading their guides, because they'll give you a step-by-step process on how how to do this yourself.
I would do that no matter what. Let's say you don't have the capability to apply right now, or you're just not ready yet, but the 5-year timeline is important to you. It might be worth looking into other European countries that also have a certain shorter pathway to citizenship, like Ireland, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, and Sweden.
Yeah, but it is worth mentioning, if you're following the European news, it does seem like there is a sentiment of a feeling that more European countries are going to start tightening their restrictions around immigration as well. So I would get in while you can if the EU is important to you. And actually, Portugal Decoded has a pretty sweet infographic that shows a EU comparison of citizenship timeline and requirements. Portugal Decoded is a Substack newsletter that we follow. It's where we get a lot of our news, and they've been giving us updates on the daily, weekly, whenever Parliament has like new news about these law proposals.
So yeah, back to the question, should you still apply? If you are a digital nomad and you're planning to be here for only a year because you're traveling the world, right? You work remotely, you can go anywhere you want, then this new law proposal has no influence on your situation. You can just apply for the D8 visa, come here, work for the year, and move on.
Or 2 years, because it's good for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then you could stay for the additional 3 and get a renewal and then get permanent residence. So like we said before, it all depends on your personal situation and your goals. However, if you're not really nomadic and you're just coming from the remote worker angle and you really want to have a second passport in your portfolio because of you want the flexibility and security and just optionality, and if that 5-year timeline is important to you, then I might reconsider a different country, because through these new law proposals, Portugal has just proven that it is unreliable with its immigration policy, and it's decreased the confidence of a lot of people who are thinking about coming over here. Whether you're just a family immigrating from the US or somewhere else, or an investor or an entrepreneur trying to bring your business over here and contribute to the economy, these proposals, whether they impact you or not, has just lowered the confidence level of anyone who is thinking about coming here or that's already living here. So it's unfortunate that they are trying to make these sweeping changes. Hopefully they will get watered down, but if that 5-year timeline is important to you and you want to get a passport for you or your family, then I would consider other European countries if Europe and being in these Western developed countries is important to you. Otherwise, there's lots of other countries in the world, whether that's the beautiful Mexico, which we love, or a number of other South American countries.
So there you have it, all the information you need to go and apply for a D8 visa here in Portugal.
And hopefully after our update on these immigration law proposals, you can now make a more informed decision on whether you should still apply or not. Just remember, this is a developing story, nothing's finalized yet, so keep checking the news to stay up to date.
And as always, if this video was helpful to you, please hit the thumbs up below the video. It helps us reach more traveling families out there.
Yep. And also, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. We would definitely appreciate it. And that way, for next week's video, it'll pop up in your timeline.
So thank you for watching. And remember,
explore life beyond borders. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.